I recently had a heated exchange on the Joe Budden podcast where we discussed a couple of different topics. I'm going to start with one that really was kind of a referendum on some Vlad tactics that I've picked up over the years, which is
Right.
re-uploading clips of someone after they passed away.
Right.
They did everything they could to try to villainize this practice.
Right.
It didn't feel like the audience was terribly convinced. You were brought up because I said you were the first person that I had ever seen do this, and how it eventually, after seeing you do it, it made me realize that I didn't think there was anything wrong with it. I got a lot of pushback on that. How do you see that?
I'm going to show you, because I was thinking about this today, and I knew that this question would come up. So when I was in my car, I took a screenshot of my Spotify display in my car, and Rap Caviar, who is like one of my one of the big
Right.
playlists on Spotify.
I stop by there whenever I want to know what's going on. Yeah.
The number one song that just got added to Rap Caviar.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Go ahead, take a look at that.
Number one is P&B Rock, Selfish. Not terribly surprised though.
So Spotify is I'm waiting for the Joe Budden comment about Spotify, how they're monetizing a black man's death,
right,
on a platform that is a subscription-based platform.
Right. I mean, the response immediately would be his family's earning money off of that, while when a clip of him doing an interview, if it were to get re-uploaded on No Jumper, that his family's not seeing anything from that. My argument would be that it's really not about that. It's really just about sharing this person at a time that people are looking for information about them.
It's just obvious. Like when Olivia Newton-John died, when I go into Paramount Plus, Grease was the first movie on there, because everyone's looking back at her catalog and so forth. The funny part to me about Joe, who I feel has been a hypocrite this whole time, is that when he first mentioned the whole thing about me uploading Kevin Samuels' life story flashback after he passed, was like, oh yeah, Vlad's whatever for doing that. Oh, I didn't do that, with my Kevin Samuels interview that got 6 million views, by the way. And I'm just like shaking my head like, did you take off the advertising off your Kevin Samuels interview, Joe Budden, as you're bragging about the number of views?
But the re-upload is the thing that people get so concerned about, right?
Whatever. It's all just gaslighting, and it's all just like, Joe don't like me, so he's going to come up with something to try to ridicule something that actually we feel is a something that really celebrates the person who I got to sit down with for a couple of hours, that everyone is checking for and so forth. Joe didn't demonetize that. He probably made $10,000, $20,000 off of that Kevin Samuels, as he's making money off a dead man. The thing that he's accusing other people of doing. Joe should take down every interview of everyone he's interviewed that's passed away.
Right.
As time goes on, more and more interviews will be like that. But he doesn't do that. He likes to essentially attack things that, by using like a racial bias and so forth. And that's what he does. That's what 50 did to Ja Rule. He made fun of Ja Rule singing, and made Ja Rule rethink his whole strategy and start doing songs like Clapback and so forth. And then Ja Rule's career ended up going down because what people were checking for was the singing. But then 50 Cent started doing himself.
Right.
And when you fall for that bullshit, when you fall for someone trying to take you off your game by trying to ridicule something that's working for you already, we do not make a huge, percentage of our income from flashbacks. Maybe 2-3% overall. It's really more designed to really celebrate the person. And a lot of times my interviews are life stories. So Joe Budden doesn't have a life story interview with Kevin Samuels. He has Kevin Samuels talking about a bunch of topics. I have the only interview with Kevin Samuels that starts with his birth and goes through his childhood, goes through his parents, goes through his various marriages, his ups and downs and so forth, and ends with his philosophies and everything else like that. Joe doesn't have that. So why would I not put up the life story, essentially the documentary of this man that everyone's talking about right now that had such a significant effect, both positive and negative to certain people?
And this is the thing.
It's just stupid.
When you interview somebody, especially early in their career, or especially where you feel like you kind of have the definitive blueprint of who they were as a person, it is an amazing feeling to have that under your company, right? Like my main memory of that is the interview with X that just, didn't really have a lot of other interviews. It became, in his passing, the definitive blueprint of who he was as a person at a time where millions and millions of people were trying to figure out who he was as a person. And the idea that your media company would be wrong to re-upload that clip on YouTube just because of the fact that you're going to earn some money off of it, like, of course your media company would want to celebrate the fact that you got this unbelievable piece of content. And I feel like he is kind of like being a little bit, he's playing dumb to a certain extent because he knows how important it is. He's a content creator. He gets it. Every single time a rapper dies, and I got this from his Reddit, so I know that they believe it fully, but every time somebody dies, there's a clip on the Joe Budden podcast of him talking about it. And
Remember
it's like, what's the difference between him talking about it and just re-uploading a clip of an interview?
It's all gaslighting. He said, Vlad and Adam are the only ones who re-upload shit when someone dies. Academics just re-uploaded PNB Rock's interview.
Well, he actually uploaded for the first time. That clip hadn't been up on his YouTube yet.
Okay.
But
he uploaded it exactly when it happened.
And in PNB Rock's passing, one of the more viral tweets was somebody on Twitter who basically just said that Academics was a piece of shit for uploading that clip like an hour after he died, which, I mean, realistically, that's a special case because he had already done that interview and that clip was probably going to come out anyway. If not that day, it was going to come out in general. So it's kind of like he had just done the interview. Like, can he at least drop the fucking clip?
I think Joe just... with Joe, it's a way of saying I hate white people in hip hop without saying I hate white people in hip hop. Like I've never heard of a white person that Joe has had any level of respect for whatsoever between me, you, Rory. He lied about Complex president Rich Antoinello, said he heard him say the N-word, which is fucking ridiculous. Like I've known Rich for like 15 years and I've never seen any inkling of racism in any of our conversations.
He's really picking out fights because he had Academics on and he didn't give him any of that Warren Chirac talk. And then for some reason I'm there and I have to answer to the Warren Chirac.
But on the same note, Joe Budden wants to do an interview with me. He wants to sit down with me and do an interview.
He wants to interview you.
No, he wants us to do an interview together on, he mentioned that on Academics podcast. Academics like, Joe wants to, he wants to know if the two of y'all finally sit down on my platform.
And you're not interested.
I'm not interested, man. I'm not interested. He'll have to find someone else to save his show. It's not going to be us. And you can say what you want, but we've consistently gotten more views than Joe overall since Joe has started. You could say what you want to say. We've consistently done better than him business-wise. YouTube channel's always been bigger. Audience has always been bigger. His sparks these days come from shit like what he did with you. I mean, even Rory. I feel like Rory and Mal have actually surpassed Joe Budden in terms of cultural significance.
You think?
I think so. I see their stuff becoming more viral, and their moments and something so much more so than I see him with the other two guys that he has on the show. And so forth. And, that's just me from the outside looking in. It's not like I'm cool with Rory or Mal or whatever. I don't know those guys.
Right.
So I'm just saying from the outside looking in.
When Joe says he's the #1 hip hop personality,
I mean, that's his opinion.
You don't think so?
We all should
Who's
feel that
#1?
way.
Because I don't even really think of myself like that. So it was kind of interesting to hear him say that because I don't spend any mental energy thinking about like where exactly I fit in, who's the most interesting person to hear talk about rap.
I think there's no such thing as the #1 anymore. Everyone has their own platform. I mean, if you want to count numbers, Vlad TV is the biggest YouTube channel in the hip hop space. We don't just do hip hop. We kind of, we there's gangster shit and there's sports shit and
But at a certain point, any platform has got to expand beyond where they just started, right? Like look at Barstool. Yeah. Do you think Barstool thought that they were going to have one of the #1 hip hop podcasts?
Yeah, $1 million with the game.
10 years ago, I don't think that would have ever crossed their mind. Not to mention the Caller Daddy thing that's two white girls talking about their sex lives and shit like that.
Right,
I mean, that started out as a purely sports platform, and then they just sort of like organically transformed into something much bigger.
I feel like everyone has their moments. Like if you're really on your grind, like everyone has their moments. Gilly has his moments. I have my moments. You have your moments. Academics has his moments, and so forth. Like, and even Joe had his moment when he interviewed Isaiah Rashad. Like that was a moment of Isaiah's first interview about the whole gay thing. Like people have their moments. Can you keep it up? Every interview you put out is not going to be hot to death. Just isn't. You're going to have your ebbs and your flows. Like my Keefe D interview was epic. You know, the new shit I got with Warren Sapp interviewing Michael Irvin this comes out. It's like, it's going to be epic.
All right, people, we just hit 300,000 subscribers. You know we're trying to hit 400,000 subscribers. So that little red button, tap it, tap in. We appreciate y'all.